If you go to ChatGPT and say, give me a great recipe for dinner tonight, it's gonna throw a meat recipe at you. Bias is built into almost every aspect of society. The protein is a myth, and it's the amino acids that your body is so good at putting back together. American food is not super plant-based friendly and very processed. I just encourage you to explore that. Like, you have to get in touch with your body because each of us are slightly different. I had lost almost like 30 cholesterol points and almost 50 pounds. It's so hard to say, I'm gonna go on this plant-based journey and then not have a support system. And That's what I think this platform can really, really do well, is help reinforce the values that you know you want to hold yourself to.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Niki Davis, and this is the Plant-Based Support Podcast, where we share evidence-based wisdom, real stories, and support for your journey to better health through plant-based living. Now, I myself worked as an engineer on the space shuttle program before changing my own health and career when I moved to a plant-based diet. And now, as a lifestyle medicine physician, I help patients all over the world at lifestyletelemedicine.com. Now, in today's episode, we will be chatting with Bryan Dennstedt, the Chief Operating Officer at Plant-Based Support. But before we get to Bryan, I want to tell you a little bit. So this is our second episode. So we're very excited to start this new podcast. And at the beginning of each of these, I want to maybe have a little bit of a learning moment. So today I wanted to talk about fiber. Did you know that upwards of 90% of Americans are deficient in fiber? So that means that only 10% meet the minimum requirement for daily fiber intake. So what is the best way to improve your fiber intake? Well, by eating plants, of course, right? Plants are the only source of fiber. It's what gives them structure and stability. Animal foods contain zero fiber. So let's get started eating more whole grains, potatoes, or strawberries. They all have fiber. All right, so today I am so excited to introduce you to Bryan Dennstedt, again, the Chief Operating Officer of Plant-Based Support. Thank you so much for being here, Bryan.
Thank you for having me. It's great to talk with you.
Yeah, so we want to learn a little bit more about you today. So I guess, why don't you start with just telling us who you are and how you became a part of Plant-Based Support?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I have been plant-based now for about 15 years. I don't know I have to go back and look at the exact date, but it's been a while. So you can check out my journey on lots of different platforms, I'm sure, if you want, but I'll give you the synopsis of it. Is I was a big movieaholic way back when, and I went to way too many movies and went into my little theater there, and the only movie I hadn't seen was Forks Over Knives. And I'm like, let's go see the documentary then. So I watched the movie and it changed my life. So Forks Over Knives did it. It hits you with the climate change, the health, the animals, all that stuff. And I walked out of there saying, I guess I was just blinded by society's norms to some degree, and I want to change. So I went vegan, cold turkey, basically, for 30, 60 days. Had no clue what I was doing, but I did see quite a bit of change in my body. So, I found after 60 days I was missing the ice cream and the cheese and stuff. So I went vegetarian and just sort of plateaued at some point 6 or 7 months later. And I had lost almost like 30 cholesterol points and almost 50 pounds. And I just was sold at that point. So a few years after that, I just slowly started, giving up the cheese and weaning off the ice cream or finding the alternatives and stuff. And so it's hard for me to say which exact moment I sort of went full vegan, I guess, but have been on that journey ever since. So I think the forcing factor was I started the blog, Real Men Eat Plants, and that's still going today. I don't get to update it as much as I did back then when I started, but I think that helped me really reinforce the fact that, that other people are holding me accountable. This is something I want to do. And so that led me to just, a few years back, launching a couple podcasts in this plant-based space. And then it's a funny story because I met Paul Chatlin, our founder at Plant-Based Support, about 2.5 years ago now. And we connected and hit it off, one of his open letters that he does so well. And so we just connected and had built this synergy and partnership ever since. So we're locked at the hip now driving this forward. But I had bought a PBNSG t-shirt like 10 years ago. And then here I am finding myself speaking to the founder of it, and it just fast forwards, and I'm like, so I had to put on my t-shirt when I met him and hang out. And Paul's a great guy, and his mission is strong, and I want to make sure that you and I continue to drive it forward and help all these people with, because it's so hard to say I'm going to go on this plant-based journey and then not have a support system. And
Right.
that's what I think this platform can really, really do well, is help reinforce the values that you know you want to hold yourself to, and get tips and tricks and support and everything else along your way, and learn all about fiber and everything else. So that's my quick
Right.
journey. I hope that helps spell it out.
No, absolutely. And I think I love that you brought up the support part, because I think most of us in, who eat this way did it on our own, kind of figuring it out along the way. And most people don't have a huge support system that says, you're going to start eating only
Mm-hmm.
plants? Yes. Like, let me help you do that. No, it's usually the opposite. Like, what are you doing to yourself? You're going to die of starvation. You're such an idiot. How are you even going to cook that way? Like, what are you going to eat? So we
Yeah.
don't usually have that support. So it's so important to have that support. Some people, fortunately, have some family members who might support them, or friends,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of us don't. And so that's where having plant-based support is that community that you get to join, that brings you in, just like a family member, gives you a hug and says, it's going to be okay. We're going to figure this out together.
That's right.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And it's, I have to say this little anecdote, because I did a thing on LinkedIn with a bunch of other people earlier today, all about artificial intelligence. And it came up about bias in the models. I mean, because like, not only do we need support from these other humans that are so amazing on the same journey with us, but like, if you go to ChatGPT and say, give me a great recipe for dinner tonight, it's going to throw a meat recipe at you, like just by default. Like, it's bias built
Wow.
into the models that it's going to throw a chicken and potato recipe at you, like without even thinking twice about it. And so the bias is built into almost every aspect of society. And so, I'm aware of it because I play with AI, but, you look at how much bias is built into the model, and you see it everywhere you look when you start really peeling behind it. So you have to restructure the model to say, look, don't ever mention the meat, please,
Yeah.
when you talk to
Yeah.
the AI stuff. So anyway, don't get me started on AI, but it's permeating and it ripples. So that's where you need this support group to really help unpack it, and see some other ways of doing things.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, you do. Well, and there's just so many nuances to transitioning to eating plant-based, where, social engagements and eating out and holidays like Thanksgiving or whatever, you've got to navigate that stuff. And
Hmm.
a lot of people have been through that. And so to have other people that can help you navigate that. And speaking of that, I would love to hear from you kind of what, in your transitions of going more plant forward and then vegan and plant based, did you find anything especially difficult or surprising about it?
I guess lots of different things. Like, it's interesting because like I did a food sensitivity test a handful of years back, and like, I love to cook at this point in my life. I love to make these amazing recipes. I'm addicted to Indian food and good tacos. But the default when you and I go out at a corporate event or whatever it is pasta with spinach. And taking that food sensitivity test, showcased that me and spinach are not best friends, and me and tapioca are not best friends. Those two are just, for some reason, off the charts on my sensitivity test. And I always knew about tapioca because whenever I had anything with tapioca in it, I just didn't like it at all.
Mm,
And with coffee too, but I've never really drank coffee. But then I didn't really know spinach was the thing. And then I got this test back. And once you start figuring those things out, so like, I feel like you have to go on this plant-based journey, even if I can't convince you to do it the rest of your life. I think it's just this awareness around trying to get back in touch with your body about what does cause inflammation, what is too much salt, what is too much sugar, what is not enough fiber or too much fiber, Like you have to get in touch with your body because each of us are slightly different. You might be sensitive to something else, sweet potatoes or something that we just don't know about. And so it was just really interesting to see this discovery as I've gone on my journey trying to figure out what foods I really, really love. I'm addicted to spicy foods now. I still crave barbecue, so I'm always trying to figure out like how can I make this super barbecue-y flavory. So I make barbecue pizzas that are with a whole bunch of nutritional yeast, but I love it. Everybody else looks at me like my pizza's crazy, but I'm like, no, it's barbecue and nutritional yeast and a couple hot peppers. Like this is an amazing pizza. So yeah, you find your journey, but you have to go on it to really figure out what's at the core of it.
Yeah. Well, I think that pizza sounds amazing. I would eat that. Thankfully, I do not have a sensitivity to sweet potatoes because they are my favorite food. I don't
Mine
know
too.
about you, but there are so many different kinds. There's the ones that are purple on the inside that taste like birthday cake. And then there's the ones that
Mm-hmm.
are purple on the outside and white on the inside that are really delicious. You know, of course, the orange ones.
I had some of those last night. Yeah, they are phenomenal.
Yeah. But it's interesting you talk about food sensitivities because I think this is something that we don't have a lot of good evidence for that testing. And what I've
Mm-hmm.
seen more often than not is people stop eating healthy foods because of the test results and not necessarily the symptoms from that. So certainly if you notice that every time I eat this certain food, I feel horrible, I'm gassy, I just want to lay
Mm-hmm.
down, I don't feel good, then that makes sense. And that's usually what we use to tell people, maybe stay away from this kind of food if you're having symptoms from it. Because there are people who are, say, sensitive to gluten, right? Not
Yeah.
necessarily have
Mm-hmm.
celiac, where they have a condition that, it's an autoimmune condition. But anyway, so I just want to put that out there because I think food sensitivity testing has gotten kind of more popular. And
Yeah.
and what I don't want is people to say, well, I can't have broccoli, I can't have watermelon, I can't have kale, I can't have potatoes because of this test, right?
Right.
We don't have enough evidence to support that yet.
And it's one of those things like I know everybody's different, but like tapioca's off the charts and spinach is off the charts for me. But like there's a mixed green salad with spinach in it. Like I'm gonna eat it,
Yeah,
and I've tried that and I've eaten it. So it's everything in moderation at that point too. I just know if I used to get a whole bag of spinach and saute it up with some lemon juice and stuff like that, and that's what tipped me over the edge. But a handful of in a spring mix salad, it doesn't make a difference to me
yeah,
on that front. So,
yeah,
and
that's
it's one of
good.
those things you do. I think you have to get it tested every couple of years almost because your sensitivities are going to change as you grow and get older or get a different probiotic in your gut, all those kinds of things. So I agree with you. Like everything in moderation. It did confirm for me why I don't like so many processed plant-based foods because they stick tapioca in them. Like
Mm,
I don't know if that's what just turns me off. I'm just like I'll make my own peanut butter oat balls, and stick those in a jar because the ones I get at the store they're sticking the filler tapioca stuff in it, and I just don't like them.
yeah,
It's not like it doesn't like not sit well with me. I just don't like the taste of coffee and tapioca, and that confirmed my suspicions. I would love tea, chai, all those kind of good things. So yeah, but I agree with you. Take all this information with a grain of salt and figure out what's good for you. But I did love the process of like going through the build up. Like after I did the test, they say, look, start back with the ones, the rice and build up from there kind of a thing. And I found after like going through that process that when I did hit certain foods, like I could tell like it made this little tingle on my tongue or something because that was one of the ones that was in the yellow zone. And so it was
mm,
interesting to go through that build up process to see like I haven't had this for 6 to 8 weeks and now I try it again and I see the reaction almost instantly versus we're probably eating as spoiled Americans, we're probably eating 200 different things every single day, with between chocolate and this vegetable and that fruit and this plant and that bean, which isn't something that happened probably 100 years ago, right?
right. It
So
was
it's
much more
interesting.
simple. Yeah, it is. Yeah, all right. So I am curious with you moving toward a plant-based diet if there's anything that you wish you knew back then that you know now. If you could go back and tell yourself when you were first starting this journey, what would that be?
Yeah, I mean, clearly I goofed it up in that first 60 days when I went, fresh start, clear the decks, because I don't know what I'm going to eat, right? Like it was iceberg lettuce and tomatoes. um so I'm a huge fan of the beans and the lentils at this point. Even I went down the whole nut path, for many years on that front, and I've been trying to hone back off of that because the nuts, have a little bit more fats and stuff in them. So, you take these journeys and you try and figure out what's the blend. And then I think it wasn't until I went through the Cornell class, to get my plant-based certificate, really, that it really clicked with me on the amino acids and those kinds of things. That, like, look, I'm eating, broccoli has no protein in it, right? But it has, 11 out of 12 proteins that you need, or amino acids that you need to make up a complete protein. So as long as you pair the broccoli with the lettuce or the tomato or something, boom, you've got a complete protein. So that's something that the body is just so good at doing, is creating the proteins. And so I just encourage you to explore that and look at that avenue of it and really understand that the protein is a myth, and it's the amino acids that your body is so good at putting back together. You really just need to, eat healthy for the most part, eat in moderation, and eat a variety of foods. You do those three things, you're well on your way to hitting your protein numbers. I was actually tracking it the past week or so, and, take a picture of it, throw it into your AI tool of choice, and it'll tell you what you got calorie wise or protein wise or all those kinds of things from just a picture uploaded.
That's
and
incredible.
every day last week, I got anywhere from like 65 to 90 grams of protein without trying, without thinking about it. I was just curious, like, what the pictures did, and then you do that and you throw one spoonful of peanut butter in, or a handful of, some dried chickpea snack or something, and you'll push it above 100 without even blinking. So unless you're working out and you need way more protein than that, like, you're naturally going to get it. So yeah, don't worry too much about it. I think more people should be worried about what we are talking about at the beginning here, which is fiber, right? And fiber and too much salt and too much sugar. Like,
Yeah.
I think on a plant-based diet, when I actually do go out to eat, I find everything I go out to eat nowadays is just way too salty. Like, everything is too salty. So I just almost want to eat at home because I know I can put the right amount of salt on it. Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting times for sure.
and that's what I found too, is the longer I've done this, eaten this way, eaten plant-based, the less I want to go out to eat, because it's just not as good as what I eat at home. And it's more stressful because I'm not sure I'm going to find something that I want to eat or will even enjoy, right? But I'm so glad you brought up the protein thing too, because that's, the protein is such a common question that people have, and they worry about combining and all of that. And really, ultimately, plants all have amino acids. That's where animals get them too, to build their own protein. So those amino acids, all of the essential amino acids that you need are in all plants. It's just at differing levels. So when you say, maybe 11 out of 12, really they have all of them. It's just that some are very, very low in certain amino acids and some are high. And that's why it's important that you don't just eat only broccoli for the rest of your life, right? You need to eat other foods to help complement. Right. So absolutely. And the nice thing is that for the most part, if you eat a fairly diverse diet, it doesn't have to be crazy, but as long as it's somewhat diverse, a plant-based diet, I usually tell people try to get 40 different plant foods a week. You'll have no problem hitting your numbers of protein, because most people are trying to get way too more than they need. And you'll get all the amino acids that you need.
That's right.
Bryan, do you have a couple of tips you can give us about how to be successful when eating a plant-based diet?
I would say my couple tips are, if you can get the whole household to do it. I don't know, I've got so many tips. Which ones do I start with? Like, get the whole household to do it, and then just throw out the stuff that you shouldn't eat. And then it's a lot easier that way. I don't always have that chance where I am. But I also think, like, take your favorite foods that you've loved for years and years and years and figure out the vegan version or plant-based version of it to that degree. Like, I love making a plant-based lasagna, like, my Italian roots to a degree. and I make a phenomenal plant-based lasagna with some tofu, silken tofu, and I put a few jalapenos in it. It's just phenomenal. And I just say, fortunately, American food is not super plant-based friendly and very processed. But honestly, if you look at almost any other culture out there, a good portion of their meals are plant-based. So I do Indian food and Mexican food, and then Thai food and Italian food, and then just Americanized, like pizza Fridays. You make the plant-based one. Nutritional yeast is your best friend. I don't know. Ping me on the plant-based support community, and I would be glad to load you up with a whole bunch more tips.
I love it. That's perfect, because I totally agree. I think that a lot of people think that this must be very difficult and so overwhelming. But if you just boil it down to, do you like spaghetti? Do you like pizza? Do you like sushi? Do you like, you name it, taco night?
Mm-hmm.
There are so many things that you already enjoy that can easily transition over to something that's plant-based and healthy. So, yeah. Okay, well, thank you for those tips. And thank you so much for being a part of our second episode of the Plant-Based Support podcast. For those who are listening today, we would love for you to join our growing community at plantbasedsupport.org, and also attend any of our virtual events or even in-person events that we have. And do you love this show? Well, help us grow at plantbasedsupport.org. Every donation helps support more people like you who are on their journey to health. And in addition to plantbasedsupport.org, you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. Please subscribe, like, comment, leave a review. Now, Bryan, do you have any additional websites or social media handles that you want us to know about, so if people are interested in learning more about you?
Yeah, obviously I'm helping drive forward plantbasedsupport.org, so check that one out. And then I run a few podcasts myself, so check out plantbasedonfire.com, where I really talk with business owners in the plant-based space and try and help them get the word out and celebrate the difficult journey of growing a business together. And then, lots of other places. I'm all over the internet, so check those out, and stay in touch, everybody.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Bryan, for your time today. Really appreciate you coming on and talking to us. And until next time, I'm Dr. Niki Davis with the Plant-Based Support Podcast.
That's it for today's episode of the Plant-Based Support Podcast. We're here to remind you that change doesn't happen overnight, but every step, every choice, and every meal brings you closer to the health and life you deserve. At Plant-Based Support, we believe no one should walk this journey alone. Knowledge matters, but so does encouragement, accountability, and community. If today's conversation inspired you, share it with someone who needs a little hope. Together, we can create a ripple of change that touches families, communities, and future generations. Want more resources or to connect with our team? Visit www.plantbasedsupport.org for articles, guides, and community support. Or reach out anytime at connect@plantbasedsupport.org. And if you're enjoying the podcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps more people discover this message of possibility and healing. Thank you for listening, for learning, and for choosing progress over perfection. This is Plant-Based Support, where plants heal, hope grows, and community carries us forward. Until next time, keep moving toward health, and remember, you're not in this alone.